Dear students, due to some technical glitch, I could not accommodate all I had to say on John Milton's Paradise Lost in my first sequel of the video. So here I have come in front of you with the conclusion of the Paradise Lost. One thing I must say midway that Milton's Paradise Lost can also be read as an allegory of the poet's own concern about the state and position of human beings in relation to the Almighty God. Because you know that under the surface description of the creation of hell, the Almighty's relationship with the God, with the human beings, and other religious and social concerns, Milton also wants to say that human mind is a different kind of entity which has the capacity to adjust to any situations and circumstances. And the speech of Milton Saturn is very, very pertinent to the voicing of his such concerns. Milton Saturn is a very predominant character, as predominant as Zimri in Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel, a political allegory of the time. About Zimri, Dryden says that the portraiture of Zimri is worth the whole poem. It means that if you deduct the portraiture or portrayal of Zimri from the poetry will lose its significance and integrity. But I don't go to the extent of saying that. But I must say that this presence of Saturn is quite inevitable if we remove the portrayal of Saturn from this Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost does not have the claim to call a very grand work of art. The statement of Saturn is full of exalted speech and the Saturns do not feel aggrieved with their present condition. Normally what happens that when a person loses his position or power, he laments inconsolably. But then Milton wanted to underlie or imply that great souls, great minds, unconquerable willpower does not submit before anything. Conversely, it is also man's inner power to fight against odds and to establish ideals of humanism, where man was at the center and everything could be explored through the wealth of mind. Critic after critic have written about the status of the Saturn in Paradise Lost. Who is the hero of the Paradise Lost Book 1 is a question that has been raised by several poets and critics and readers of literature. Is it the Saturn or Christ or God or Adam or Milton himself or none? But I see that A hero is not the one who has the capacity to make a wonderful speech, who has the exploits of the man of high willpower. A hero is one who also has in him certain positive qualities. What positive qualities does Milton set on imbibe? No doubt, the grand speech of Saturn makes us conclude his exalted opinion, his own conception of himself as being supreme and great in parallel with the Almighty God, sometimes makes us feel that he is not one who is going to lose his patience or willpower before any situation, but at the same time, it makes us feel that it is a great sacrilege on the part of the Saturn to speak ill of the Almighty God, and it is a kind of blasphemy. But it was part of Milton's concept to grant Saturn a high position. Milton, it seems, has sympathized with Saturn, as critics also feel. And William Blake goes to the extent of saying that Milton was of the devil's party without knowing it. So, as an allegory, I feel that this Paradise Lost was also alternatively intended by the poet to express what he felt about all these metaphysical things like God, Adam, Christ, devil, evil, and the relationship between the Almighty God and human beings, etc. It is very important to know that Saturn is not only Saturn, he is also Milton disguised as a Saturn. But a question arises, even if Saturn was to be intended to be the mouthpiece of Milton, could Milton not intend or choose Adam to play this role? Could he not choose Christ to play role? Because it would have suited the personality of the Christ? No. Because the kind of pride, the kind of rebelliousness, the kind of unconquerable will that Saturn shows does not suit or will not suit other personalities. And sometimes we feel these Saturns in their rebelliousness very much like Shelley and Byron. Because the language of, love cannot be the language of anger. The language of rebellion cannot be the language of acceptance. So Milton was capable of creating a different language for different personalities. His style has always been called a grand style, a style of magniloquent, lofty style, sublime style. Sublime thoughts were expressed in sublime language. How you say is more important than what you say. Manner is more important than the matter. So, grand ideas have been expressed through grand manner. It is Matthew Arnold, the great Victorian poet of England, who has noted Milton's grand style. What is the grand style of Milton? You do well to know it. Let me first explain you what actually grand style is. Matthew Arnold, in his On Translating Homer, explains it in the following words. Grand style in English poetry is a reason when a noble nature, particularly gifted, treats with simplicity or with severity a serious subject. And we come to know that this epic has a serious topic. Lofty ideas have been expressed in a lofty manner. So, different opinions of Paradise Lost have been forwarded. But is what is my opinion or what is a person's opinion is a very, very important factor. I see Paradise Lost as a dramatization of the poet's concept of this human life. The whole statement of Saturn, it appears, is a kind of puritanical statement. Milton himself was very much pained to see the corruption rampant in the society. And everybody knows that the civil war in England between the king and the parliament and other things like the state and the church conflict was very prominent. And Milton had to defend the rights of the right. That is why he sided with the parliaments against the king. And the leader of this rebellion was Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector, a great man. And under Oliver Cromwell, Milton has served as Latin secretary in England. And he took the cause of all the rebels against the king. The king was sure to be defeated because in their struggle against the king, there was one prominent force called Milton, who could guide and support with his invaluable thought and writings. Milton always wanted that humanity, liberty, equality, love, justice, truth should prevail in a country. His writing of poetry is an indirect attempt in that direction too. So, dear students, the first book of Paradise Lost is just a cog in the whole wheel of this long epic. We would do well to begin with this book. Certain important lines may also be memorized to corroborate your answers. And lines where Milton Saturn, encourage his fellow Saturns to rise up to the occasion are very, very important and worth memorizing. For example, when he rouses Beelzebub from his sleep in the hell, he says, fallen cherub, to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering. What? Either you do or you suffer. If you do, you do not suffer. If you do not do, you suffer. So, this is an indirect moral lesson also to do away with whatever has happened in life and to begin afresh. Shakespeare, a poet of nature, a universal reader of human nature, has also once said that to lament the past which is dead and gone is to invite new sorrow. And this gesture of Saturn to have nothing to do with the laws of heaven, where he was having the favor of God also, is very important. Though deep within him, the Saturns are very aggrieved, but then they do not want their grief to be affected. They don't want their grief to affect their present condition. And they also do not want to let others know that they are in a fallen condition. Because what is fall? It is not a physical condition. Fall is a mental condition. If you feel that you have been defeated, you are really defeated. But if you feel that you have not been defeated, you are not defeated. So, victory or defeat is a state of mind, which also Milton wants to underline. So, dear students, we have gone a long way to underline the Paradise Lost, and I am reminded here of what Milton's friend Diodati said to Milton once. He wrote a letter to his friend Milton saying that, friend, you have said much about Paradise Lost. What have you got to say about Paradise Gained? So, at the request of his friend Diodati, Milton wrote Paradise Regained, which was published in 1671. And after Milton was dead and gone, as he himself had imagined, that he will die leaving a great work of art behind, several succeeding poets realized that what a great gem of a man Milton was. What was lamented Milton in his sonnet. Milton, thou shouldst be living at this sovereign land hath need of thee. And Alfred Lord Tennyson, a Nobel laureate representative poet of the Victorian age, speaks about the musical quality of Milton's poetry in the following words. O mighty-mouthed inventor of harmonies, O skilled to sing of time or eternity, God-gifted organ voice of England, Milton, a name to resound for ages. And Dryden says that this man cuts all out, and the ancients too. So, dear students, if you are doing Milton as a poet, you must try to gather some of the biographical sketches of Milton also, and some select critical comments on him also. You should also know, by the way, that Milton was a very, very committed writer and his range of study was encyclopedic. It was this that caused him to lose his eyesight. And when he lost his eyesight, even then he did not lose his willpower, and he wrote a poem, sonnet, on his blindness, where the two concluding lines are very important. He says, they also serve, only stand and wait. So we feel that he has an optimism like one of Browning. And his greatness is one of Wordsworth. So, dear students, Paradise Lost will be reckoned as a well and superb work of poetic creation, not for nothing. I think that this is enough for today. And when I get an opportunity to be available to you another time, I will come with another lecture of mine. Till then, I leave you with homework that read the original text of Paradise Lost. Try to decipher the meaning. Try to comment critically on it and then show me your answer. I am sure that some of the words and expressions that Milton has brought together in his poetry will go hard for you, like Latin expressions like myths and illusions. But then it should not deter you from moving ahead. You should consult good books and try to be a good student of Milton. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye. Stay at home. Stay safe. Shukriya.